In the dusty town of Red Hollow, whispers traveled faster than the wind, and no one escaped their sharp teeth. Everyone knew her name, Eliza Hart, a quiet, gentle woman with eyes that held oceans of sorrow. Yet, despite her beauty and kindness, no man dared to approach her. Rumors had a way of twisting the truth, and the townspeople had spun a web of false stories around her. They claimed she was cursed, that misfortune clung to her like a shadow. Eliza had long learned to keep her head down, performing her duties at the general store with quiet dignity, always smiling politely while the gossip flowed. But behind her calm exterior, her heart ached. She had dreamed of love, of a man who would see her for who she truly was, not for the cruel tales others told. Each evening, she would walk by the edge of the river, hoping to see a kindred soul, someone who would understand that the whispers were lies, that she was simply a woman longing for companionship. The children of the town, innocent in their laughter, sometimes smiled at her gentle ways, yet their parents would quickly hush them, warning them not to associate with the unlucky one. Eliza had begun to feel invisible, a shadow in her own life, a person without a future in a world that valued rumor over truth. But fate, as it often does, had its own plans. One late afternoon, as the sky blazed orange with the setting sun, a man rode into Red Hollow. His horse's hooves kicked up clouds of dust, and the townsfolk paused in their busy routines to watch him pass. He was unlike anyone they had seen before, tall, rugged, with eyes that seemed to see everything around him, yet miss nothing. This was Jackson Cole, a cowboy known across distant lands for his bravery, yet little was known of his heart. He dismounted outside the general store, tying his horse with practiced ease, and walked inside with a quiet confidence. When his gaze met Eliza's, it was as if the world had paused, even if for a heartbeat. There was no judgment in his eyes, no whispers, no rumors. Just a calm understanding, a recognition of something others had missed. Eliza felt a flicker of hope she hadn't known in years, but she quickly buried it beneath polite manners. Jackson, noticing her initial reserve, smiled gently. "Afternoon, ma'am. Name's Jackson. I'm looking for work around here, and I hear this town might need a hand." His voice was deep, steady, carrying a sincerity that made the store seem warmer. She hesitated, then nodded, unsure why her heart skipped in response. Over the next few days, Jackson integrated himself into Red Hollow slowly. He helped the blacksmith repair a broken cart, assisted the farmer with heavy loads, and even fetched water for the elders without complaint. The town's men whispered amongst themselves, their pride bruised by this stranger's competence, but he never seemed to seek approval or recognition. Yet he observed Eliza quietly, noticing the subtle kindnesses she offered others, the soft patience in her tone, the gentle way she cared for the animals wandering near the store. While the town had judged her without knowing, Jackson's eyes seemed to uncover layers of her story that no one else had cared to see. Slowly, he pieced together fragments of truth. Eliza was not cursed. She was misunderstood, judged for circumstances beyond her control. He began to realize that behind her shy demeanor was a strength the town would never acknowledge. It wasn't just her beauty that struck him, it was the courage she carried silently, the grace she maintained in the face of relentless cruelty. Meanwhile, the townsfolk continued their quiet sabotage, discouraging anyone who might approach her, reinforcing their collective prejudice. Eliza noticed Jackson's absence of judgment and felt something she hadn't allowed herself in years, a glimmer of trust. She started speaking more freely to him, telling stories of her childhood, the hardships she had endured, and even the subtle joys that had kept her going. Jackson listened, always with respect, never interrupting, never questioning the validity of her words. And when the first evening came that they walked together along the river, the golden light reflecting on the water, he finally said something that made her heart flutter. "Eliza, the world may have given you a bad name, but I see the truth." She looked up, startled. "The truth," she whispered. "Yes," he replied. "You are stronger, kinder, and braver than most of these men combined. And I believe any man who can't see that doesn't deserve your heart." Eliza's lips trembled with a mix of relief and wonder. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel invisible. And though the town continued to murmur behind closed doors, she realized that one person's recognition of her truth mattered more than 1,000 ignorant whispers. That night, as she closed the store and walked home under the silver moon, she thought of Jackson and the strange twist of fate that had brought him to Red Hollow. Perhaps, she mused, the universe had a way of introducing miracles when least expected. She had been waiting for someone who would see her real self, and against all odds, he had arrived. Little did she know, the journey they were about to embark upon would not only challenge the town's prejudices but reveal secrets that could change both of their lives forever. Chapter 2. The Cowboy's Secret. Days turned into weeks, and Jackson's presence in Red Hollow grew more familiar. He worked tirelessly, earning the respect of many townsfolk, though a few stubborn critics refused to acknowledge him. What they could not see was the quiet bond forming between him and Eliza. It wasn't forced, nor was it flashy, it was the kind of companionship that spoke in glances, in shared silences, and in small acts of consideration. Jackson noticed how the townspeople avoided helping Eliza when heavy work was required, how they whispered insults under their breath, and how her eyes betrayed a resilience born from enduring years of judgment. He had a secret, though, a truth that he hadn't shared with anyone, and it was this secret that made him see her differently than anyone else could. Jackson Cole was not merely a wandering cowboy seeking work. He was the heir to one of the largest ranches in the neighboring county, a ranch rich with cattle, horses, and the kind of wealth that could change lives. Yet, he had come incognito, wanting to live simply for a while and see the world from the eyes of ordinary folk. When he first arrived in Red Hollow, he was curious, not knowing why the town seemed to have such a harsh view of one woman. But the moment he met Eliza, he understood. She had been judged, ostracized, and undervalued for years because of lies and misunderstandings. The more he observed her, the more he admired her, and he realized that the town had made a terrible mistake in turning away someone as pure-hearted as her. One afternoon, while helping Eliza carry a heavy sack of flour to the back of the store, he asked casually, "Eliza, have you ever thought about leaving Red Hollow? Maybe somewhere no one knows your name." She looked up, surprised at the suggestion. "And go where?" she asked softly. "I have nowhere else to go. This is my life," she admitted, her eyes flickering with vulnerability. Jackson paused for a moment, studying her expression. "You could go anywhere," he said, "and anyone who deserves your kindness would be lucky to know you." She smiled faintly but turned away, hiding the spark of hope his words had ignited. That night, Jackson confided. In his journal, a habit he had maintained since youth, he wrote not only about the challenges of living in Red Hollow but about Eliza. He documented her acts of courage, the quiet way she cared for the children who played near the store, and the subtle strength in her demeanor that belied the town's false narratives. The more he wrote, the more he realized that his secret position as a wealthy heir gave him a unique perspective. He could see her for her true worth, unclouded by prejudice, untainted by rumors. Over the next days, he began devising subtle ways to protect her from the town's cruelty. When someone mocked her, he would step in quietly, his mere presence enough to silence them. When she struggled with heavy chores, he would appear at just the right moment to offer assistance, never making it seem like charity. And with each interaction, Eliza's trust grew. She began sharing more personal stories, about her childhood, her dreams, and even the heartbreak of men who had dismissed her. Jackson listened, offering words of encouragement without condescension. And in those moments, Eliza began to see a man who valued truth, kindness, and integrity more than wealth or status, a man whose presence made the harsh world feel safer. But Jackson knew he had to be patient. He could not reveal his identity too soon. The town's prejudices ran deep, and he wanted her to choose him for who he was, not for what he owned. Still, his heart ached to show her that someone truly understood her, that someone saw the person she had always been, not the rumors that had haunted her. One evening, as a storm rolled in and lightning painted the sky in flashes of white, Jackson and Eliza found themselves trapped in the store. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, and the rain poured relentlessly. She shivered, and he draped his coat over her shoulders. "You've been through worse storms than this," he said softly, his voice steady amidst the chaos outside. She looked at him, eyes wide. "I suppose I have," she whispered, a faint smile touching her lips. In that moment, the bond between them deepened, not through grand gestures or declarations, but through quiet understanding and shared experience. Jackson knew that the real challenge lay ahead, revealing the truth he had kept hidden for so long, and risking the chance that it might change everything. Chapter 3. The Truth Revealed. The tension in Red Hollow was palpable when the day finally came. Jackson had been offered the chance to reclaim his ranch after a period of absence, and he knew he could no longer keep his secret hidden from Eliza. It was a risk. He did not know how she would react, or whether the truth would frighten her away, but he also knew that honesty was the only way forward. He invited her to the edge of the river, the place where their connection had first felt real. The sky was painted with the soft hues of dawn, and the water reflected their silhouettes. "Eliza," he began, voice steady, "there's something I need to tell you." She looked at him, uncertainty mingling with curiosity. "I've not been entirely honest about who I am," he continued. Her heart raced, a mix of fear and anticipation tightening her chest. "I'm not just a wandering cowboy. I am Jackson Cole, heir to the largest ranch in Red Hollow County. I've kept this hidden because I wanted you to see me for who I truly am, not for my wealth or my status." For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Eliza's mind raced. Wealth, status, reputation, these were things she had never truly cared about. She had longed for honesty, kindness, and someone who valued her for herself. Looking into his eyes, she saw nothing but sincerity. "I don't care about the ranch," she said softly, stepping closer. "I care about you, the man who saw me when no one else did." Jackson's relief was palpable. He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "You are stronger than anyone I've ever met," he said. "And I want the world to know the truth, that no rumor, no prejudice, and no lie can diminish the worth of someone as remarkable as you." The days that followed saw a transformation in Red Hollow. Jackson's revelation shocked the townspeople, but it also challenged them to reconsider their judgments. Eliza's resilience and kindness were finally acknowledged openly, and the whispers began to fade. More importantly, the bond between her and Jackson deepened, built not on wealth or status but on mutual respect, understanding, and love that had grown quietly over months of shared experiences. In time, Red Hollow came to witness something rare, a love born from honesty, patience, and the courage to see beyond appearances. Eliza, once rejected by the town, now stood proudly by Jackson's side, not as a woman defined by rumor, but as a partner recognized for her true worth. And as they walked hand in hand along the river one evening, the sunset painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Jackson whispered, "The world may have doubted you, but I never did. And I never will." Eliza smiled, feeling a peace she had never known. "Then I suppose no one else's opinion matters anymore," she said, her heart full. Their story became a quiet legend in Red Hollow, a reminder that the truth, though often hidden, has the power to reveal the strongest bonds, the deepest love, and the courage to rise above judgment. And so, as the town slowly embraced the woman they had once scorned, Eliza and Jackson walked forward together, proving that when one person sees the truth, it can change not only a life but an entire community. Sparkle's motivation for viewers. Like Eliza and Jackson, we all deserve someone to see our true worth. If you believe in love, courage, and the power of truth, subscribe to the channel and join us for more stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul.